right for that song.
Look, everyone is allowed to sing at least 7 seconds of Parliament Funkadelic every stream. I'm pretty sure it's allowed.
Is
Pretty
isn't
sure
that the
it's.
rule though? Isn't it like 5 seconds or is it 7 is fair use?
I think it's seven. Is honestly, it's really up to like 30 seconds. It's pretty much fair use. Like you're allowed. It's as long as you're not like full on like streaming the whole thing. But also it's like not allowed because like people get angry
Because
about things.
lawyers.
Yeah, because lawyers, y'all are just out there really,
There's
really ruining it for all of us.
there's the real answer.
There it is, right?
5 to 7 seconds is allowed as long as you have a good lawyer.
That's right. I don't know. I've
Welcome
gotten
to
away with it.
America.
Also, like, you know, how many viewers do I have? Currently 0. But on average, I'm only getting like 5 or 6 viewers a stream. So like, I could just play music in the background. And honestly, like when I'm streaming by myself, which I haven't done in a million years, but am gonna do more now that I'm unemployed. Um, there's musicians and artists that I like that have been like, you can just use our music in the background of any of your streams. And one of them is the Midnight, actually. So I can use their music on my streams. And I like their music a lot, so it's going to be very 80s when I'm streaming by myself. Very 80s.
Win-win.
That's a win-win-win for sure.
Oh yeah.
So today we're actually working on the website. It's been 3 weeks, I think.
That's probably about right.
Because I remember we skipped
It's definitely
it.
been a while.
We skipped
We
it.
did do it last week.
Last week we didn't stream. We just did work together. We didn't actually get on the stream last week.
That's true. We worked together last week, just not together with all of our friends in the internet world.
Yep. Yep.
But we were writing code.
We did write code last week. We actually,
Believe us.
what we believe me, please. That's what I'm going to tell my future work. I'm gonna be like, I definitely wrote code. I promise.
You could
No,
literally
you
look at
can't
the
see
GitHub.
it.
The GitHub. Look at the GitHub.
Look at the GitHub.
Look at the Git log. Yeah, all we did last week, we just updated a NuGet package, or updated a couple NuGet packages, because we had been waiting forever for Oracle to release support for MySQL on Entity Framework Core for .NET 5. I feel like that's it's a very specific thing,
It's a
but
very specific, but I
It's-
mean, we were waiting.
yeah, I mean, but it's not uncommon because Entity Framework is the most popular database ORM. I think that stands for Object Resource Manager. I probably got that wrong, and we'll get roasted for it later. But ORM is just a software tool that makes it easier to use databases, and Entity Framework is the most popular. So if anybody else is using Entity Framework with MySQL database, you could do it now. Oracle released support. They actually released a whole new NuGet package. They deprecated the old one, and you got to download the new one now. But yeah, that's all we did last week. We just updated that NuGet package, and then we were able to also update the Entity Framework core NuGet packages to 5.0. Whatever,
Yep.
and it all just worked. So we shipped it.
Finally.
So it was like
we had been waiting for like a
we did.
month and a half, I think. Maybe longer.
Well, I mean,
Because we
technically,
knew.
.NET 5 came out in November.
Yeah,
And
so we.
technically, the first preview of .NET 5 came out early 2020, so
So, Oracle, if you're listening, please get faster.
they're
Please.
they're obviously not prioritizing it. That's
No,
that's been
I mean,
very clear.
I didn't know Oracle had priorities. No offense.
I
Hey!
mean,
Oh, it's Pi Day! You
Oh, it is Pi
math
Day.
nerds. I feel like I have to have some kind of pie today. All I've had so far is a cheesesteak sandwich.
I forgot about that. Ooh, but cheese.
Do you remember your math classes?
is a pie.
Cheesecake! Oh, there's a question for me? Oh, snap. Go ahead. I'm ready.
I was
have
gonna say,
no
is that
idea.
is that a yes?
I mean, yeah, I'll answer a question for sure. Where are we streaming to?
I mean,
Are we on
it-
both of our Twitches right now? That's got to be in your Twitch.
Yes.
Ah. Choice of socks? No socks. I'm in Florida, so I'm wearing
Whoa.
sandals every day.
Ah, didn't see
Like-
that one coming.
Yeah, didn't know we were gonna put feet on the stream, did ya? Choice of songs.
Well, was
I feel
it a
like
difficult
there's
choice
a
to
joke.
make?
I feel like there's a joke coming soon.
No?
Like I feel like I'm about to get like owned somehow.
Well, you better go catch it.
That's right. It was not hard because it's warm in Florida, so I wear sandals.
I do kind of hope there is a punchline. I will say I'm not wearing socks either. I'm wearing slippers,
Yeah.
and it's because I just woke up, put on my slippers to take the dog outside,
That's right.
and I'm keeping them on because my feet were cold.
Keeps your
But
toesies warm.
No socks.
See, we have. I don't. I have. It's funny. I have house flip flops actually, because Florida. So I have these little Target flip flops that I wear all around the house.
That's what I call these. I call them my house slippers, even though like I will wear them to take the dog out in the backyard.
Yeah. I mean, that's the backyard. That counts. That counts.
The idea is I'm not gonna they're not gonna get super dirty, so then I can wear them in the house. Whereas my normal shoes, I usually kick those off as soon as I come in the door because
Yep.
I don't want to have to clean up after myself.
Yeah.
That's like one of the most infuriating things I found as an adult is cleaning is really just cleaning up after yourself. Like
Oh.
You-
You're constantly doing it.
like you at this point where like you can't really get mad at anybody. Like you don't have roommates to blame the dirty dishes on anymore. It's like, oh no, those are the dishes that I didn't want to wash last night.
Yeah. That's me.
Guess I'll
That's
wash 'em.
me.
Like,
On me. What is Hawkins radiation?
that's a good question, DJ Yanix. Appreciate the compliment on the hat. It is my new favorite hat. It's I call it my Napa hat because it says Napa, California right here.
That's right.
I don't know what Hawking radiation is.
Yeah.
I enjoy physics, but I didn't get that far in it. I tapped out before quantum physics, and not that I don't want to learn it. It's just really hard, and I don't know if this has anything to do with quantum physics, but it kind of got to the point where it's like, hey, we've reached the point in physics where people are still kind of figuring stuff out, and we think this is right, and it's like, I'll come back when we know it's right. But that's also kind of the point of physics, is to keep iterating and improving and learning more. But
They made a black hole in a lab, is the recent news that happened, apparently.
whoa.
An analog black hole made of rubidium gas. Because they were testing to see if it would behave the way Stephen Hawking theorized it would behave. They wanted to see if one of the quantum entangled particles that went to the brink of event horizon would escape, as Hawking
quantum.
predicted. There it is, quantum.
I still don't know if
Everything
this
I
is
know about-
quantum physics, but
Everything I know about quantum physics. Yeah, it's not nice. I don't put them on straight. I keep them at an angle. But mine has a better logo on it, I think. So yeah, apparently they made a
Wolfie.
black hole in a lab. What up, Wolfie? Thanks for coming through.
wow. I don't know how I feel about making black holes in a lab.
Well, apparently it's only rubidium, so like don't worry too much about it.
I mean, again, I don't know enough about it to have an opinion on it, but I do know black holes have a gravitational
Seem to
field
be
that not even
dangerous.
which light can escape. Yeah. Like, should we really be messing with black holes? But
Listen,
I'm going to hope and assume that these scientists who know more than me have already walked through those paces and
listen.
come to the conclusion
got-
that we can do it safely.
I got the hot scoop from sci-fiwire.com. Wow.
So science
apparently-
fiction wire?
Yeah, so that's like Sci-Fi the Channel wire. But I think it's reputable. But yeah, like apparently like this is the thing, but it's like a sound black hole rather than a light black hole. So it seems like
There's layers for black holes. Oh my goodness.
yeah, like well they're
That's
like
even
they're
more
calling
terrifying.
They're calling it an analog black hole. They're like, it's an analog black hole, so don't worry. They made it in like a vacuum tube. Um, I'm not. Look, I'm like you. I'm like, I don't know that we should be doing it, but I'm going to go ahead and trust the scientists on this one that they knew how to do it. Okay.
Right? Like you guys are experts. I assume you've done your due diligence, and then this isn't just somebody in their garage going, "Yeah, I think I could do it."
Have you heard about the radiation Boy Scout, the nuclear Boy Scout?
Is it the guy? I saw a TED Talk. It was like this 12-year-old who made nuclear reactors in his garage. Is that the guy?
He went and would like scrape the old glow in the dark stuff was made with like uranium. So he would like buy old clocks and like scrape them off, and he eventually made a reactor in his yard, and it started contaminating a bunch of stuff. And he did it with all like homegrown materials, and he was doing it because he wanted to get his nuclear physics merit badge. And there was actually a project in like the book that was like, oh, you can make a small fake nuclear reactor and it's safe. But afterwards they were like, wait, is it? Because look what he did. The nuclear Boy Scout. It was a huge, like, it was like an environmental disaster for that area. And he's really banned from buying certain materials now. And, it's wild. He was pretending to be professors from other professors to get information and materials from college professors and stuff, making fake like letterheads and stuff.
He went forgery.
Oh yeah, forgery, fraud. He went.
So you got the forgery merit badge, and nuclear merit badge. I mean, I will say, assuming we're talking about the same person, the kid who did the TED Talk, and I should stop saying kid. I think he's older than 18 now, but I think he was 12 at the time he did this. He was wicked smart. I watched this TED Talk, and even though he was explaining how he created the nuclear reactor in his garage, I was just like, yeah, I trust this guy. He's way smarter than me.
We got to be careful who we're trusting. David Hahn, the radioactive Boy Scout. Oh, man. Amazing. Yeah, dude, my uncle introduced this whole thing to me, back in like the early 2000s. He was like, I gotta tell you this story, and he like gave me a CD that had a bunch of videos on it about the nuclear Boy Scout and stuff. It is cool. There's an episode of The Dollop on it. It's a really good episode of The Dollop, actually. Really good episode.
That's
of The Dollop.
Podcast.
Yep.
Just in case.
Hey. Sorry, that's right. American History Podcast. The premise is two comedians.
A dollop of what?
Yeah. So one of the comedians looks up a weird story from American history and tells the other guy about it because the other guy doesn't know anything about these stories. And it's all about like crazy stuff from American history. I'm trying to think. The story of Phineas Gage. Who had a tamping stick launched through his face and survived. Stuff like the nuclear Boy Scout. The early stories of how pedestrians came to be, because when cars were invented, the idea of a pedestrian was not real, because pedestrian means a person not driving. So they had to create pedestrians, and cars were really dangerous and just kind of like harming people. So the auto industry had like a lobbying campaign to make it the pedestrians' fault. And the first thing was calling them pedestrians.
Oh, because it's a pejorative term.
Yeah.
Because if something's pedestrian,
so pedestrian,
it's boring.
Mm-hmm. And so then, like making things like jaywalking illegal. Well, remember, like, roads was for...
too, right?
Yeah, that's based on a slur as well. Like, a J is an idiot.
And then we just took them back. We said, no, those are our words. I'm proud to be a pedestrian.
I'm proud to be a pedestrian.
Whenever it doesn't interfere with the flow of traffic.
I gotta tell you, man, like, that podcast especially shows the power of money. Like, the auto industry changed everything. It was like, well, why aren't you walking on the sidewalk? And if you look at, like, footage from all of human history before cars, the road was kind of for everyone. Like, people had carts in there, and you just went around people, you know? And cars showed up and wanted to go 30 miles an hour, and they were dangerous and killing people. And the auto industry was like, what if we make it everyone else's fault? And people bought it.
I will say it's the speed that I can see really makes a difference. Because like, if you get hit by a horse and buggy, I mean, granted, it could just be like a rogue horse is the problem, but like, that's an easily avoidable accident. Whereas, well, I guess you could argue if you get hit by a car, that's easily avoidable. But thinking back when everybody used the same road, not only was it more easily avoidable, it was also just less deadly. And then, yeah, as we started cranking up the speed and started going 30, 50, 60, 80 miles
There
an
might
hour.
be an equation that details that the amount of force increases with the speed.
Boom! Hawking radiation. Full circle. What are we doing today, PJ?
Apparently talking about my favorite podcast, but really we need to make some tests for my website. So I'm going to share my screen. Screen one, because Brandon, you'll be happy to know I bought a second monitor.
Oh, congrats.
Yep. So now
I don't even have a second monitor.
Listen, yeah, well, you're not usually the one screen sharing, so you don't have to worry about like, oh, like I don't want to have the recursion and all that stuff. So let me open up.
Oh, you almost did it.
I almost did, didn't I? Actually, no, look, because like if I open up, you don't see
Oh,
it
because it's on the other screen.
because it's on the other screen. What I need
Touche.
to do is another tab showing off my website, and it's going to take a million years to spin up because that's how it rolls. So in the meantime,
Oh, it's free. To be clear, just in case anybody's curious, we're not that bad at writing websites. We just don't want to pay for hosting.
I mean,
If
I'm
you don't
not
pay for
bad.
hosting, the punishment is like a 5-second
slow.
cold start time.
Yeah, it takes a little time sometimes. So here it is, your new favorite poem. Right now we've got lists of authors, a picture, poems that you can read by them. I've got that super stretched out picture of Mary Oliver there, just fantastic. But yeah, this is my website. We've got the Add a Poet page if you ever want to add a poem or add a poet. And then I just make it verified later on, and then we're good. But that's the website, and that's what we're working on today. Hopefully going to be able to write some tests for it, and this is new for me. Tests are not new to you, Brandon. For background, I guess also like for anyone who's new, I'm a former high school English teacher, currently looking for the first job in tech. Brandon is my mentor, and he is a DevRel at Microsoft for the past 4 years.
I've been at Microsoft coming up on 6 years, but
Nice.
Microsoft didn't have a developer relations org until 2018. I think is when I joined it. I wasn't like one of the founding members, but I was one of the first. Actually, the reason I wasn't one of the founding members was because I turned it down, and then I had to come back and like hat in hand beg for the job.
Hey, actually, I'd really like to do this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The guy who Tim Hewer, who ended up being my manager once I joined the team, he kind of did a cold reach out. We were both working at Microsoft, so he pinged me internally, and he's like, "Hey, we're starting this new team. Here's what it's all about." He's like, "I think you'd be really good for the role," and I was like, "Well, I don't know. I just landed on Microsoft had this team called the Global Black Belt team, which just by the name itself, is a really cool team."
It's super cool. We're doing front kicks, and it's great.
But basically, it's an org that focuses on more of a one-to-one relationship with somebody using Microsoft technologies. So let's say there's a company that, like in my case, I was, and still am, an expert in Xamarin. And so I was brought onto the mobile global black belt team. And so if there was a customer out there that was working on a Xamarin project and maybe couldn't finish it or couldn't figure it out or were hitting some roadblocks, then we would help them. And like by help them, I mean like actually dive into their code and walk through it with them, figure out what's going on. And it was really cool because it was exactly what I loved doing. It was what I was really good at. And it was around the same time when I joined that team was when I got the offer to join the team I'm on now. And so it was one of those things where I was like, I'm actually really excited to be on the team I'm on now. Thanks, but no thanks.
Maybe if the team name had been Black Belt, White Stripe, level up.
No, I mean, the long story short is I was simultaneously both impressed with who I saw joining this DevRel org. Like, there's guys who I still work with this day, like Laurent Bouchon, Matt Sokup, Jim Bennett, who were fellow Xamarin developers who I looked up to. And when I saw that they joined the team that I was invited to join, I was just like, I can't believe I turned down the opportunity to work with these amazing people. Like, and literally had to go back to Tim, like, hey, I'm sorry. Can I still be on the team?
Can I please come play?
But I mean, of course, like even when you're transferring teams internally, because it's a job opening at Microsoft, like you still have to interview for it. So I still had to go through the interview process and prove that I was qualified. But man, yeah, that was almost a really big missed opportunity because I love working in developer relations. I love being a developer advocate. We get to do stuff like this. We get to hang out with developers all day. Like, just writing code.
No, it's weird to think that I'm a developer.
You wrote this website, right?
I mean, yes.
There you go.
It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel like, it feels sort of like odd almost. Oh, it's weird. Like, I think that's something that
it's the old imposter syndrome creeping in.
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's something that, like, Chloe told me a while ago. She was like, start calling yourself a developer. You are a developer, you know? Like,
oh, yeah.
Make sure you think that about yourself, you know?
Yeah, if you write code, you're a developer. And, like, there's definitely layers and nuance to terms in the industry. Like, I wouldn't call you a software architect.
No.
But you could argue, like, a software architect is a subset of developer. And then there's the whole like argument about like software engineer versus software developer, and is it really a difference? I'm kind of in the mindset of like not really, but if you have a degree in engineering, sure, call yourself an engineer.
That's man, go for it.
like my degree is literally in computer hardware engineering. So like if I want to call myself a computer engineer, I have a piece of paper that says I am.
That's right. Thanks, piece of paper. You cost
somebody else wants to call
$60,000.
themselves yeah, right. Yeah, if somebody else wants to call themselves a computer engineer and they're really good at software development, but they don't have a degree, that's fine.
Do it anyway. Excellent Dragon has a question for you, Brandon.
Woo, long-term projects. So, Excellent Dragon, I'm gonna ask you to follow up, but I'm also gonna give you a long rambling response because that's also what we do in developer relationships.
Just give long rambling responses.
So, yeah, my question for your question is, I guess, what's an example of a project like because in developer relations, a project could be anything. It could be how do we better serve the community? Like maybe there's a whole subset of the community that, for example, the Xamarin community is big on Reddit and Facebook, and we also have a Slack. But maybe there's also, well, there is a Discord too. Maybe there's another platform that I don't know exists where all the Xamarin developers hang out. I should be there as somebody in developer relations so that I can join the conversations. I can help answer questions if I can. So that could be a project in developer relations. Another big part of the developer relations role is to bring that feedback back to the engineering teams. So I have weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, whatever periodic cadence you want to throw at it. Yes. Meetings with various product teams within Microsoft, from the Xamarin teams to say the Azure Functions team to pretty much any product team that I DevRel for, I guess you could say. And in those meetings, yeah, we come back to them with the feedback. So like, hey, I was chatting with a couple developers the other day and they're all hitting this same issue. What can we do to make this better? Like we call it, we call those like sharp edges. Like what can we do to fix those sharp edges in the developer experience? Because we want all our products to be, at least the developer products, to be easy to use so that even if you're a first timer, you can still get something working. You can figure it out. And so those are also long-term projects because it's like it might be focused on a specific feature, and then we have to figure out how do we implement that? How do we scope the project? What's the timeline? And then how do I, as the developer relations person, message these updates? Because you always want to make sure everybody's voice is heard, but at the same time, there might be things that like, we just literally can't fix, whether it's because of time or money or resources. Like it might be something like we would love to fix it, but it would require rewriting the entire architecture, and we just can't afford to do that. We basically want to start over. And so, awesome question. That's my long rambling response. But I'm always working on long-term projects. But I guess if you had a specific, more refined definition for what you were looking for in your question, feel free to follow up. But yeah, always working on long-term stuff. And then I also do side projects for funsies. Like I have a couple apps in the App Store that are open source. I have tons of open source libraries, and I do that because it's also a great learning resource that I can share with folks. So when somebody asks me, how do I do X? And I've already done it, then yeah, there you go. Like Git Trends, this is an app in the App Store, but again, totally open source. So somebody's like, how do I do push notifications? I can point them to the specific line of code and literally tell them, here's how I did it. Feel free to copy paste this, whatever. But
look at you. Such a good readme. And then this is the good stuff.
Did it.
Oh yeah? Did you do you have a new version?
Yeah, we pushed out, I say, technically I'm the one that pushed it, but there was a lot of folks who contributed in the open source community. Yeah, we pushed out version 2.1 last weekend. And so what it did was it added an about page. And on the about page, it's basically just a huge shout out. It was a good excuse to highlight folks who have contributed to the source code.
Nice. That's
Plus
awesome.
all of these, so like all these libraries that I list here, all the contributors you see in GitHub, those all now appear in the about page.
Here.
And so, yep. And so, yeah, I wanted to create this, like, I mean, let's be honest, very few people go to the about page in an app, and very few people go to the about page in the app multiple times. And so you could argue, hey, is it really worth your time? Like, I mean, my buddy Luis, who's the green background in the yeah, right there. He's kind of the co-developer, co-creator of this app. He and I worked for months just to create this about page. And yeah, you could argue like nobody's going to go to it. What's the point? But it allows us to share the awesome work that people have contributed, highlight the libraries we're using to kind of help boost them up, give them a bigger signal. And, you know, why not? Because we want people to keep contributing. It's an open source repo, so why not? Like if there's a feature you want, slap it in there, and then I'll put it in the App Store. But
your CI
that's why I need to update that GIF.
What's going on here, bud?
Oh, Excellent Dragon joined Microsoft last month as a software engineer.
Congratulations.
Hey, well, welcome to the company. Yeah, hopefully, well, especially if your product is external facing, like, because I say that because Microsoft has a lot of internal tools that you could be a software engineer and only work on internal tools at Microsoft and still be very successful.
But
yeah, if it's an external facing project, then especially so the team I'm on focuses on Azure. So if it's an external project that's on Azure, then you should also be having conversations with a developer advocate. If you're not, feel free to follow up with me. My Twitter handle's, wait, where is it? There it is. Right here. So the Code Traveler on Twitter. Feel free to shoot me a direct message and we can chat about how to get you looped in. Or heck, now that you work at Microsoft, you can find me internally. Uh, you can shoot me a message on Teams me, but that's amazing. Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, the project manager, customer relations team. I mean, there's definitely projects we manage. I wouldn't say we manage the software projects on the product teams because they have PMs, they have project managers, but we definitely work closely with them to try and like I'll surface issues like, hey, this issue was opened up on GitHub 6 months ago. It looks like we lost it in the shuffle. Can we raise this in the priority queue? Because this is actually a big problem. Here's why. So stuff like that. Burger Page.
I forgot about Burger Page. Is it Burger Page?
Here,
oh God! Now I'm going to Shutter. How did that happen?
I'm gonna steal the screen for you for just a second, just to show off the About page. Because again, want to highlight all these awesome people.
That's really good.
Thank you. I mean, shout out like Luis right here. He designed the whole thing, and if you want to know more about him, you can click on his face. And I'll take you to his GitHub.
I'll take you to his GitHub.
But yeah, he designed it. I'm more of the. I'll write the code if you can give me a design, because and I say that just because I'm really bad at designing stuff. So yeah, like all these folks have contributed and submitted code to the app, and then these are all the libraries that we leverage. Because if we're being honest, software nowadays is all built on the shoulders of giants. Like nobody's reinventing the wheel and doing everything from scratch anymore. And so it's good to give credit where credit's due.
I forgot it was Burger Secret.
There it is.
There we go. There we go. Oh, God, I found it.
Oh, cool.
I like that.
Excellent Dragon said they're on the Windows Defender team. I actually just started using Windows Developer, Mr. or Mrs. Dragon.
Windows Defibrillator.
Yeah, well, I always use a Mac because you basically need to use a Mac to make iOS apps. And so I've always used a Mac since I joined Microsoft. And the downside of that is Microsoft didn't have and probably Excellent Dragon knows more about this than I do. But as far as I know, there wasn't a macOS version of Windows Defender. So they gave us this other tool called Sophos, this like security virus scanning tool. And man, Sophos it was like running Chrome 24/7 with a bunch of tabs open. Like it just ate up resources. And finally, thankfully, we were able to pull some strings, but find the right people to talk to internally to say, hey, can we get off of Sophos? Plus, they take forever to update. I guess they're owned by some. They were bought out by some VC firm, so like they're squeezing profit out. Is probably the best way to put it. And they just never updated to the latest versions of macOS. So like I would have to update to the latest version of macOS because it was required to do stuff for iOS development. But then Sophos would just throw errors constantly while it's also chewing up resources. And
sounds like a real awesome situation.
Yeah, right? It's one of those things like when you work at a big company, they're going to have rules and they're going to have like internal tools that I'm sure everybody's experienced some sort of similar story where it's like, this company's software always gets in my way. I wish I didn't have to use it. But there's usually a good reason behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I was able to get on like the early previews of Microsoft employees using Windows Defender on macOS instead of this other third-party tool. And since then, it's been glorious. Like Windows Defender is there. I assume I'm protected, but it doesn't get in my way. I've never had to force quit it because it was using entire CPUs worth of resources like Sophos used to. But anyways, unit testing databases.
All right.
This is literally as far as we got last time.
We have a base test, and we have this that just checks if the authors list and the poems list is empty. Or rather, if it's not empty.
Yeah, and so Part of the problem we hit last time was, well, neither of us have done this before. I've never written unit tests for a website in general, but we had to start first by initializing our database. So that's what PJ was just showing off in that setup code. So there's that little setup attribute there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And right here, we're just say db initializer dot initialize. Like we're literally just initializing the database, and then that line of code threw an exception, and we couldn't figure it out last time. So
we had a breakpoint here on was it 22 or something, and then we slowly stepped over everything to see what was going wrong.
Yeah, and part of it was, so what do you do when you don't know how to do something? You Google it.
Yep.
At least that's what I do. And somebody recommended we say use in-memory database, and that in-memory DB in quotes, like this is all just copy pasted, boom. And it didn't work. So that's probably what we got to figure out first. But we also, like we said at the top of the stream, we did just update a bunch of NuGet. So like we're on a newer version of EF Core.
Yeah.
We're on .NET 5 now. All this was done back on .NET Core 3.1 with the older AnyFramework Core 3.1. So I'm kind of thinking like, let's just run the test and see if it just magically works now.
Right.
Like maybe that blog post we copy pasted code from was talking about how to do it for .NET 5.
We'll
Small
find
chance.
out.
Very, very slim chance of this being possible, but if we didn't have to change anything and it just worked, that'd be cool.
That'd be dope.
So,
all right.
We should start with, how do you run unit tests in Visual Studio? Well, there's a couple ways to do it, but probably the easiest way is on the Test Explorer. And PJ already has this window open. It's just not pinned. It's on the left side of the screen here. But if you don't have the window opened up yet, you can go to View. And then these are all the windows you can view. And that's where, Test Explorer right there. So you click on that, it'll open up the window. And then what's nice with the Test Explorer is it shows you all the tests you can run. And it has this button that says Run All. That's like that fast forward button next to the play button. And so it's just a really easy way to do it. Another way is if you jump to the unit test code, you had that up for a second too. Database test. Yep.
Yeah.
Anything with that attribute test on it. You can click on that test attribute, right click, and say Run Test. Oh, I'm sorry, that too. Yeah, you can run tests on an entire file. You can run tests on just the attribute, so it runs that one test. These are all different ways just to run it. But my way, or my preferred way, is always just use a Test Explorer because it's visual, it's pretty. You can also do it from the command line, but
we like a good GUI, honestly.
But yeah, I'd say click that the Run All and let's see what happens. It'll probably fail.
I mean,
man, if it passes and we didn't have to change any
we'll
code,
have no idea why. All right.
Like, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, we done did it. There we go. Must contain non-null. And
yeah, we'll have to fix those wordings eventually.
Build 2 succeeded.
So you can leave the tab open if you want.
Yeah.
There's that little pin you can click that will
there we
pin
go.
it open.
Thank you. Oh, it makes it wider too. Fantastic.
I typically leave it unpinned, so it's there on the side but collapsed when I'm writing code. But yeah, when I'm running tests, I leave it pinned and open because you're gonna have to be using it a lot. So so you can see the blue bar at the bottom as well. It says 1 total test, 0 passed, 1 failed. And then if we click, just single left click on the test that failed, we can see its error message. And this is why we're getting yelled at. And so this is where we gave up last time.
Yep.
And now we're picking up where we left off.
That's right. Just a month later. Okay. Relational specific methods can only be used when the context is using a relational database provider.
That's a weird message. Can we run your website real quick just to make sure the database is running?
Oh,
Did you start up my?
hold on. I did not start MySQL.
Okay.
So don't worry, we fixed it, folks. Yeah, don't run the website. Stop. This is embarrassing. Okay. MySQL. And also, I'm gonna have to go into not processes, resources,
Services.
right? Services. Dang it. So we've encountered this thing where MySQL services, it's not automatically starting when we think it should.
Yeah, show that.
And so, yeah, let's show that happening before we start it. Actually, that'll be good.
Because this is super annoying. Like, you tell MySQL Workbench to start running the database, and it just goes, I can't.
I don't know how.
And we spent a whole day trying to figure out what I can't means and how to fix it. Look at that. Argument 2, class type error, wrong type.
It's the wrong type.
That's the error message you get. And what it means is it didn't start the MySQL service on Windows. So if anybody's ever seen that error message, here's the secret. You just have to manually start MySQL. Because for some reason, MySQL Workbench doesn't want to do that.
And this is something that just started happening to us.
Yes.
January? February, maybe?
Yeah, it wasn't always like this. We used to be able to come into MySQL Workbench and just click go or start and go, okay, yeah, you want to start? I'll start it. But now we have to start it and then tell it to start. It's...
amazing.
I will say at the same time, I have not reported this bug to Oracle.
Yeah, we just complained about it on Twitch and privately to each other.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't know how to report something like this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not versed enough to be like, yeah, like I know how to do this. You know what I mean? And there we go. It's all working now.
This is because anytime you report a issue or report a bug, you always want to be able to reproduce it, or maybe a better way to phrase that is you always want the person who will be fixing it to be able to reproduce it. And so anytime I report an issue, I will always include very detailed steps to reproduce it, or a lot of times it's just easier to write a chunk of code. So like write a couple lines of code that will always throw or always cause the problem or always induce the bug. Because then I can say, here's the code.
Yeah.
And you can reproduce this at will. So the fact that you can reproduce it means you can then start working towards the fix, and you can verify that your fix works if the sample code I provided doesn't throw an exception. So yeah, in this case, like I don't know how to create a repro for this bug.
Yeah, at all. Looks like we're working
Nice.
here, no problem.
Localhost.
That's good. Yeah, I was on localhost. We're all set. And I ran the test again, and I got the same thing.
Same error, huh?
And then the stack trace is all the way to line 26, which is that...
Yeah. And so we actually want to look
Right
just one step above that. So stack traces always start at the beginning and then drill down. So it gets even more specific. Line 14. I think that's literally in the DB initializer.
It's this whole thing.
But yeah, for some reason it doesn't think we're using a relational database, and we absolutely are.
Certainly
It's
are.
a MySQL database. Doesn't get more relational than SQL. And if anybody's curious what that means, A relational database is basically like an Excel spreadsheet. It's got tables, it's got rows and columns in that table. And whenever you add data to this relational database, to this spreadsheet, it has to adhere to the existing columns. So if you have a column called ID, a column called name, and a column called birthday, you have to provide that data. There's another type of database that's called non-relational or NoSQL, and those you can give it whatever data you want. If you're familiar with JSON, you just give it a block of JSON, or it's called a blob, a JSON blob.
A blob.
So you just literally say like, here's data stored in the database, and it goes, okay. Whereas in relational databases, if you just tried to store anything you want without creating that table structure first and be like, I would love to hang on to this, but I have no idea what to do with it or where to put it. So I love it. When you see an error message, you have no idea what it means, you Google it, because probably 9 times out of 10, somebody's got the same problem. Yeah. Look at that.
It's the same thing. In-memory database.
Pretty similar.
In-memory is not intended to be a relational database?
But
I found skipping DB migration is the best option for now.
Interesting.
Huh.
It's got 15 upvotes.
Yeah.
If you're using in-memory, I was just reading the one other comment.
Yeah.
So
You'll want to skip running migrations.
Okay. All right.
So then,
because we are definitely doing migrations. That was,
yeah,
I think, a series of 5 episodes. We're trying to figure
that
out
was
how to do
such a
database
long episode. So do we what do we turn it off? Do we say we're not going to do?
Yeah, go to the DB
migrations?
initializer. Because where do we? There it is. So this line of code here, line 14. That's what it said in the inception.
Wait.
In the error message. You can still see line 14 peeking out right there.
Yeah, DB initializer dot initialize authors DB context. Oh, okay. So yeah, because we're calling it in the initializer. All right. Okay.
So the workaround that was provided in the Stack Overflow answer, we can leverage that, and I think we should, to just see if it works before we try to think of a more elegant solution. So yeah, copy that if statement from Stack Overflow. And just get that, we just need that one line. Yeah. And just paste that line right above our database.migrate line. And then I would add I would create a new line after database.migrate just to separate the code a little bit, make it a little easier to read. And then the only thing we have to change from the copy pasted code is, instead of context, we named our variable authors DB context.
I had to find my delete key. I'm slowly getting used to not having a Mac anymore.
It's weird going the other way too, man. I
had a Mac for work, and then I had my PC for all of my coding and everything. But there were times before I had a second screen, I was using the work Mac as like my second screen, and I was just sort of like, I was just running other stuff over here, and so I was like constantly like shifting from one way of doing things to another. And then,
oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Do we need to stick this in brackets, right?
Nope.
Because we're not telling it to do anything. We're just saying, if this, nothing.
So the way if statements work, and there's a lot of things like this in C#, like for each loops work the same way. If you don't have brackets, they assume that the next line of code is inside of that. So here we have authors DB context dot database dot migrate on the line following the if statement.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a one-line if statement, you don't need the curly brackets.
Sounds like Python to me.
Did I explain that properly?
Python makes me anxious.
I mean, the nice
Python
thing here is, like, you can see how it auto-indented it too for you.
Yeah, sure. Like it looks correct, and it's not giving us an error. It's not like, hey, you've got this if statement but nothing in it. And I don't know. It just makes me nervous because I haven't used an if statement without curlies. But this is a 2-line, so
So yeah,
If
I
it's
mean,
a
all that
one-line.
being said, oh, I wonder what the developer split is on this. Because
I wonder too.
yeah, some developers feel the same way you do. They say always use curlies,
Right.
and so it's because it's your code and you can dictate whatever you want. I would say
Get outta
add
here.
those curlies.
That's right.
And
Looks
then-
better. Look how much better that looks.
There you go. Some developers, I fall into this camp, is I say use curlies if you have to. Like if it impacts the readability, like for example, usually for each loops, I will use curly brackets because that's a really important chunk of code. Like it's looping over everything in a list, right? Like you don't want to be debugging somebody else's code and like gloss over that. So like, oh, it's green. But
That was
We did it.
So basically, all we did was say, hey, if the provider is Entity Framework Core in memory, then migrate. But otherwise, don't migrate, right?
yeah, apparently you can't do, or in-memory databases don't support migration, which I think makes sense because to migrate a database, it has to already exist. So it has to be
Right.
saved to a file somewhere.
Yep.
And then you can migrate it, which means to update that file.
Yeah.
And in this case, there is no file. So I understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Although I want to write this code better.
Yeah.
Hover your mouse over provider name. What is provider name? Is that actually a string?
Returns the name of the database provider currently in use. Yeah.
And hover your mouse over database.
There is it is usually easier to use a sugar method such as isSQL instead of calling this method directly.
Oh, let's see what it has. Yeah, let's say if you say database dot and then type in is,
Yeah.
we can see all the different options. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking like right there in line. So
Okay.
on line 14.
I didn't know if you wanted me to get rid of it first. So is
In memory.
MySQL.
Is in
Yeah,
memory.
is in memory. Wow, even better.
Yeah. Select it.
So
It needs to open, close parentheses because it's a method.
Dios mío, how did I type a 9 up there? Brilliant. And then, do we need to make it nullable or anything? No?
We do need to negate it.
Okay, so...
Because we want the opposite to happen. So if it's not in memory,
Can I
then
just
we
throw
do
the
it
exclamation point at the beginning like that?
exactly.
Cool.
And then run the test again. Let's make sure that works.
That'd be dope. This is my first, if it works, this is my first experience with, like, sugar. Listen, I've been hearing the words syntactic sugar since the first Scott Hanselman C# video you sent me in May 2020.
I say
And
that
this
a
is
lot.
I know you do because you're in the code a lot. Like, you even said, you were like, I don't like the way this looks. Is there a better way? And there were 2 better ways.
Yeah, this wasn't even like awesome that this exists. Let's also run the website to make sure that we didn't break anything on the website.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because I assume the website is not using in memory.
It shouldn't be because we didn't add it until it's only in the test. Like, that's the only place we have that using statement, you know?
Yeah, the only thing I'm not sure about, because like with Entity Framework, you just kind of say like go, and then it does a bunch of stuff for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it still works.
Cool.
So like maybe there was a default in Entity Framework that did it automatically, but actually, let's put a breakpoint on that if statement, and then let's run the website again. Just to be super sure. Because
Does it even get called? Oh, Lord, I just accidentally inverted the if. Hold on. There we go.
no, we want it to be inverted.
Oh, wait. Sorry, this paintbrush showed up and was like, hey, what do you want to do? And I was like, no.
Oh, it's giving you a suggestion.
Yeah. All right.
It's like, put it
Great
in
point.
the else block. It's like, yeah, but then I'd have an empty if block.
Yeah,
You
what's
don't need an else block unless you have an if block. Yeah.
Visual Studio? You're a big silly.
Yeah, some of those, like, usually the light bulbs are like, hey, this is a good idea. That little screwdriver is usually like, you could do this.
Yeah.
But for the screwdriver, you kind of also got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
All
right.
So
I
yeah,
thought that was a paint. I thought that was a paintbrush, by the way, not a screwdriver. Because this looks like the paint bottom of the paintbrush.
Oh. Oh no.
It is a screwdriver. You're
You just
correct.
broke my brain.
Can you not see the screwdriver anymore?
I see both, and I have to keep telling myself it's a screwdriver now.
I'm sorry, I ruined everything.
That's okay. I usually
You're gonna be
work on
talking to
Mac,
someone and
so-
be like, "See the paintbrush? Wait, the screwdriver. I'm sorry, my friend ruined me." And everyone will be like, "What is this man talking about?"
what is real anymore? So yeah, if you just step over this line, we should go into the if statement. Step over once more. I'm pretty sure we just did, but yep. Okay. So the website goes into it. The unit tests don't. Happy days. And Gregor's the man.
Gregors,
We are writing unit tests for an Entity Framework Core database.
thank you for the
that
follow, Gregors. That's
Runs
awesome.
on our website. Excellent dragon. R.I.P.
Right.
screwdriver.
That's right. So, funny story. I can't see the screwdriver. Can you see a screwdriver, Brandon? I'm on a Windows
Yeah.
machine. I can't see the screwdriver.
Wait. Hold on. Is this like a
it's-
philosophical question?
No. Like it's a square. It's a blank UDC.
Oh, you're seeing
Let me
like
look.
right now on the screen. Do I see a screwdriver?
No,
Slash
like
paintbrush?
yeah, when you're looking at it, like even mine, I don't see it in my Twitch chat.
Oh! I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, no,
In-
like I
in
mean, I mean
Excellent
in the
Dragon's comment.
Yeah, an excellent dragon's comment. My bad.
Ah.
Yeah, I just see an empty square.
I thought we were
Where
going
else
real
don't you
deep.
see the screwdriver, man?
Listen, man. Nothing's real.
Screwdrivers are constructs of our emotions, feeling the universe, dude.
That's funny. I do see the emoji. So,
Yeah, I don't.
That
I
probably
don't.
makes-
The emoji doesn't even show up for me.
huh.
Action is secretly a screwdriver.
All right. So we did it.
Dying. Yeah,
we got
it's all good.
we got our unit test working. Now we can
We
actually
just need
we could do
the right
stuff.
tests.
Um,
Yeah.
And so this is the fun part. At least I think it's fun. I will argue on behalf of every other developer that says it's boring and it's tedious. But to me, this is where you get to break your code.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of developers, well, there's a couple things going on. A lot of developers will just write what we call happy path tests. So like, what did we do right here? This is a happy path test because we knew it would work. And this is exactly how we're using the database in our app. We knew that when we launch the database, we seed it with data. So it should not be empty whenever this database loads. So we wrote a test that confirms that. But what's more fun is to write tests that test what are called the edge cases. So this is the best way to go. Let me way back up. My first job, I was a test engineer, so I'm very passionate about this stuff. Write the happy path tests, obviously. Knock all those out because that's what your code is doing. Then, once you have the happy path tests, we go to the edge case tests. So this is like, where are the limits, right? Like if we were to, and we'll do this in a bit, but like, let's say we're going to add an author to the database.
Okay.
And we're going to do something like add an author whose first name is an emoji and then save that to the database.
Okay.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I have no idea. I think it will work. I think that test will pass.
Yeah.
But we need to determine in our app, do we want to allow emojis as a first name?
Right.
Maybe that's something we should filter. And so it helps to make your app code more robust, because you start thinking about all these different scenarios. And then when the user goes to add an emoji, we can gracefully handle it and say, like, if we don't want an emoji in there, we can pop up an error message to say, looks like you added an emoji. Try using text
Not
characters.
emojis.
Yeah. Or maybe we find out that Entity Framework Core or MySQL or something in our chain doesn't support emojis because it's a certain version of Unicode. That could happen too. And then we know we should be blocking emojis. So, so like I said, like this is the fun part now, because we just get to break stuff.
Yeah.
And when I was a test engineer, back when I first met PJ, when I worked at a company called Harris, we were living in Melbourne together. The software developers, I don't want to say they would hate me, because I got along with everybody, but like they knew 9 times out of 10 when I was coming to them with a question, it was because I found a bug in their code. So
it was because, hey, guess what?
So it was kind of like a running joke, like, oh no, Brandon, like what'd you break this time?
You're like
And then I
asking
would
people
have to
once,
remind
they're
them,
like,
like-
no, I don't want to have
I'd always
lunch
be
with
like-
you. You're going to tell me what's wrong.
I'd always be like, I didn't break anything. You're the one that wrote the code.
Gregor's
don't say
with
that to
the
somebody
pun. Don't appreciate it. Threw a ... screwdriver in the works. This is terrible. I had a student who every day would find reasons to make a pun. Like awkward, like not even like based on what we were talking about. Like one time he was leaving the classroom and he goes, Mr. Metz, do you turn the lights out when you leave your classroom? I was like, yeah, of course I do, man. Like, what do you? And he goes, because if you didn't, that wouldn't be a bright idea. And I was like, get out of my classroom. Get out of here. Every day he would have some kind of like, and it's not like, no, Gregors, this is exactly what I left at my old job. Don't do it to me, man.
The puns and the dad jokes are everywhere.
They're all over the place. I'm dying. So puns are great, but you can't make it obvious. Making a pun obvious is the same as explaining the joke.
That's a good point.
Because if you look at everyone and go, the pun, like everyone's like, oh my god, stop. But if you just drop it into conversation, and because like no one, you don't tell jokes and go, this is funny, and laugh at it afterward.
Please laugh.
You tell the joke and you you don't say you don't jeb it, you know. Lord,
that's
so
actually exactly what I was going for with that.
Yeah.
The old Jeb Bush, please clap.
The old Jeb Bush.
And he never ran for office again. Poor guy.
Man, I loved all the memes of like, there's a picture of Jeb where he's like this, and he looks like he's maniacally laughing. And there's a great one where they took that and put it in front of the United States electoral map, and everything was yellow. And it was like, Jeb Bush, 470 electoral votes. And he was like, he looks like he's powering up in Dragon Ball Z. So funny. He was our governor when you and I were just starting at UF, I think. Is that when Jeb Bush was governor?
Oh, weird story.
Did you meet him?
I didn't meet anybody, but I was on a cruise once, and oh no, the Bush daughters. They were George W. Bush's daughters.
Yeah, so Jeb's nieces then.
Yeah. So I guess I had the Bushes backwards, but yeah, the Bush daughters were also on the cruise, and you always knew exactly if they were around because they were always surrounded by a Secret Service. So like, if all of a sudden, first of all, it's on a cruise, so everybody's usually like hanging out by the pool or wearing shorts and flip flops or bathing suits, and like, if all of a sudden there's just a bunch of guys in suits and earpieces nearby, like, the Bush daughters must be around. But
that's kind of funny. Imagine like being the Bush daughters and trying to because think about like what happens on a cruise when you're 22.
Oh yeah,
like you were just getting into all kinds of trouble.
I don't want to say
imagine trying to do that. Yeah.
So
imagine trying to hit on a girl.
I was a teenager. They were teenagers, if not very close to that in this story. So yeah, like you're just trying to go on a cruise, have fun, like blow off some steam, relax, but you're just constantly surrounded by a Secret Service.
I imagine trying to flirt with one of them, not realizing who they are, and being like, "Hey, what's your name?" And the guy's like, "Come with me, sir," and just sort of like throws you over the edge, and it's like, "Nope, can't do that." That's funny. You were on a cruise at the same. So you're like hanging out. You got like a Mai Tai in your hand, and then you look over and you're like, "Oh, Secret Service is here! Cheers, boys!"
I mean, I was a teenager, so it would have been more like,
you had
it's
virgin
a virgin
pina colada in
I
your
swear.
hand. God, the cops are here. They're gonna get me.
I knew I would get in trouble.
That's right. I shouldn't have snuck the wine.
It was also a family vacation, so it wasn't.
You weren't trying to get away with anything. I've only been on 2 cruises in my entire life. One in the 7th grade, and one in 2019 for my father-in-law's 70th birthday.
Nice. Cruises are a good time. I enjoy cruises for the sake of just like
simplicity.
It's almost like going to an all-inclusive resort for me. Like you're just going there to relax. Like you're not trying to accomplish anything. What I don't like about cruises is they don't stay long enough in the ports of call. And so I found like if I want to visit Barcelona, I'm not going to go on a cruise because the cruise gets like it docks at like 8 a.m. and it leaves by 4 p.m. and
what are you going to accomplish in that time?
Nothing. Like I'd love to go experience a city and like learn the culture, meet people, try the food, visit museums. I love doing all that stuff, and it's nearly impossible to do that on a cruise. So
it's not. You're not getting the culture.
Like let's just do like a 3 or 4 day cruise where. Like in Florida, it's common they go to Nassau a lot.
Yeah, like the ports islands. Just like the Virgin Islands or Nassau or something. Yeah,
and
way rather that. I feel so weird showing up to a country and being like, let's get off at the port and there's a Senor Frogs right here.
Right. Here's the tourist traps.
Yep, and then you try not to make eye contact with anyone. You're like, no, I'm not buying these shirts. I'm sorry. Like, I'd rather just stay on the ship at that point and just try and learn to surf the little wave rider, you know?
Yeah.
Way rather.
Just speaking of databases.
That's right. I'm thinking we're getting close to 2. My time.
Tangent.
EDT. We're on EDT now. We're going to have to come up with some tests. Now that we know that the tests work that we have so far, just the basic one. We're going to have to come up with some tests next time. The test. One test.
Yeah. And so, excuse me. But, yeah, we'll have to do a bunch of stuff like figuring out those edge cases. In this case, it's like, think of anything a user could put into our database.
Yeah.
Because we just gave them an empty text box. Like we could try, remember SQL injection?
Yeah, I was thinking we should have a test for that. Code.
Heck
we already. I thought we were already sanitizing the database.
So anything framework does, yeah. But
let's try and break it.
Yeah, well, like let's confirm it does. Why not? And let's also have that test there because another thing to think about when you're writing tests is what's going to happen in the future. Because in the future, we could totally scrap Entity Framework. Like maybe there's this amazing new database framework that comes out and everybody runs to it. And we do too. But for some reason, it's not sanitizing our inputs, which hopefully everybody wouldn't run to a framework that doesn't. But it could happen.
We're all living life dangerously.
So yeah, like there's a lot of tests that you might feel are redundant because it's like, oh well, we're already doing this, but that could change. So yeah. those are great tests, and we'll figure it out. We'll probably break some things along the way, or we'll find things like, hey, it does accept emojis, but we don't want emojis.
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
write some code around that, and we can. implement what's called the repository layer in this application, and we can test the repository layer.
Of course.
The repository layer is what we did at first. I remember we had like a whole database class that only exposed a couple methods, so you had to call those methods. You couldn't just interact with the database directly.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and then we couldn't get it working for some reason, so we ripped it out. And then we found out like we actually should have kept it. It was something else. That it was a long story.
That was like a 2-month process.
We can basically just circle back to the start.
That's right. Come back. And I definitely don't have any experience with PHP, Gregors. Sorry.
Same.
Yeah.
I pretty much only know C#.
I'm better than him because I've worked with Node.js. Got another language under the belt.
I mean, the first language I learned was Java.
Yeah, I bet you still know Java well enough.
But
it's same as C#, really. Not really, but like really. Like if I was like, here, write some Java.
Oh yeah, I could figure it out.
You could handle it.
The problem is like I know C# really well, like the internals.
You're
the
really
runtime,
good at
like,
yeah.
I love digging into that low level stuff. Partially because my background is computer hardware engineering, so it's all about like, how do CPUs work, how does memory work, and I love digging into that low level stuff to figure it all out, to see how these high level concepts like a programming language boil down into the ones and zeros.
Yeah,
but I haven't done that with Java.
So it is so intimidating to have you as a mentor because of how well you know C#, and like you're really good at it.
Thank you.
You're like, yeah, let's call this, and it's like anybody else in the world would have to like look it up and be like, oh, is there a method out there for this? Is there a library? And you're like, oh yeah, that's this library, and just import that. And this was actually started back in 2015, and the creator of it is a guy that I met at a coffee shop one time in Palo Alto, and I'm like, oh, that's Brandon.
That's very accurate. But a lot of it's just like I just write a lot of code. Like I was telling PJ before we jumped on that like I was up till 2 a.m. last night working on an open source project it's called the Xamarin Community Toolkit. And man, there's just this weird bug that I haven't been able to hunt down, and I might have right before I went to bed. Like all the unit tests passed when I checked it when I woke up.
Oh,
yeah, just like I write code every day.
Yep.
Like if you look at my GitHub contributions, I try to make sure I have a green dot every day.
You've got if you did a skyscraper, it'd be very impressive.
But I do want to give that caveat. I'm not telling people to do that. That's a personal goal of mine.
That's what he likes to do because he doesn't even.
I
tell
can't
me
say
to
it's
code
healthy.
Every day.
No. I actually would argue it might not be healthy, but it's just a goal I set for myself. And part of that is the more you write code, the more scenarios you run across.
Yeah.
So like this right here, you cannot use in-memory Entity Framework databases for your unit tests. Or I'm sorry, you can't. No, what did we learn? I just bastardized that. We learned you cannot use database migrations for in-memory databases.
For in-memory databases.
And now I'll always have that. Or at least I'll have some vague recollection of it to be like, oh, I feel like I did something with PJ.
There's something I learned about in-memory.
And yeah, I can be like, hey, PJ, like, what was that thing that bug we hit with Entity Framework where we could use unit tests? Or
I was like, it's the is in memory method. Just stick it on there, and you'll be like, that's right. Thanks, PJ.
Ooh.
Here's $10.
Let's finish with this.
Cool.
Because we have CI set up. We made GitHub action, or we made a GitHub action.
Yep.
For this website that right now.
Hey, Luis!
We were
talking about you earlier, man.
We were showing off your face. It looked just like this.
Is that a well, hello there, like from Star Wars? Hello there, where he like jumps down.
I don't know.
All right, what did you want to do? We've got CI, we've got a pipeline,
and now we have tests working. So let's ensure, because I know we talked about this, but I don't think we added it in because we didn't have unit tests yet. Let's make sure we test our code before we push it to Azure. Because right now, our pipeline builds the website, and then if the build succeeds, ships it. And that's not bad, but maybe we wrote code that broke our app. So we should always run these unit tests before we publish. So yeah, let's check out what our action does. And then let's see where we can slide in these tests.
We've got
so we have build and
test.
Oh, that's right. We made 2 of them.
And publish to Azure.
Cool. Okay, so probably in build and test is where we want to add this.
Okay.
Let's see. I think if you click those 3 dots, does it let you edit? Nope. What about the 3 dots in line with that update to .NET 5, green check mark? View workflow
file.
Yeah, I wish GitHub made it more obvious.
There we go.
So we do say test.
Run .NET test do build.
Good for us.
Is this running the tests?
So, the way we set this up, you see where it says on pull request? This only runs on pull requests.
Okay.
So it will test all the code that goes to our pull requests, but why don't we also add this step to the publish to Azure? So what I would do is just copy paste this the step down there that it's called like test or something.
Yeah.
Copy those 2 lines, and then let's go to the other workflow file. Because build and test runs anytime somebody opens a pull request. So if anybody out there wants to submit some code to your new favorite poem,
it's in there.
Well, son of a gun.
Hey.
What? How is that?
I don't know.
Let's check out the logs. Because we had a test that would just always fail. So that test should have failed. Yeah, click into any of those. Like, those are the actual runs.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's just the name of the commit.
Possible null.
Click into build. There we go. And then test. Build started. Test run 4. Huh. The test was actually passing. Okay.
It was running the unit tests. It wasn't running the base test.
No, that's right. So see your new favorite poem.unittest.
Yeah.
.dll. The DLL file is just the compiled project. So
it's everything in this folder.
Poem.unittest. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Dang.
And it found the one test you wrote. So apparently it was working on the server, but not on your computer.
Is that somehow related to using the in-memory database?
Whew, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is the server was not running the database, but then even the first time we ran the test, we were not running the database. I have no idea, but it's good that we already have testing in our CI pipeline, because that's where it should be.
That's where it needs to be.
So yeah, we should be able to just commit this code then.
Okay.
And the test should continue to pass.
We've been talking since 12:15. We've been live for an hour and 20 minutes, and here's what we've changed today.
That's right. Don't let anybody tell you line of code count is a valid metric.
Made test work. What the heck did we do? All we did was update DB initialize. That's what it is. Updated DB initializer And Luis, we were working on making our test work today. I'm sure you garnered that from just seeing us talking about tests that whole time to pass.
Yeah,
base
basically,
tests.
our unit tests were failing, at least locally. It looks like they were running the server for who knows why.
No problems.
But this made it so the tests work locally as well. And basically, we were using an in-memory database for our local unit tests, or for our unit test, period. But we kept getting a weird error. So we did what any good developer did, and we Google it, and we copy and pasted the answer, and it worked.
Oh, did I just publish that to main? Or did I just publish that to create database tests?
Yes, to the branch. So
Okay.
yeah, we can open up the pull request now. We'll get to see all of our actions fire, which will be exciting.
Dang it, I went all the way back to my profile.
I do that all the time.
Yeah? Okay, good.
That UI for the actions is could use improvement.
Alright. Able to merge. I feel like we should merge it,
Sure.
right?
Oh yeah.
You know me, I get nervous.
Wait.
Alright.
Yeah, there it goes. So
I was like, yo, it's
yeah, go ahead and click on the details here. We'll watch the log scroll by. It's a little bit more exciting than waiting for
Just
that
nothing.
yellow dot to change to, well, hopefully green, sometimes red. But
hey, get it going.
But yeah, this is what GitHub Actions does, everybody. You basically create a workflow in GitHub Actions. You tell it when to run. So maybe it's whenever you commit code to your main branch. Maybe it's anytime somebody opens a pull request to your main branch. Whatever. You can put in whatever rules you want. But what's nice about this is now if, say, Luis opened up a pull request to PJ's code, this action will run. It'll automatically build Luis's new code in the pull request. It'll automatically test it. And PJ, before even looking at Luis's code, can see whether or not you got a green check mark or a red X. And if you got a red X, you can say, hey, looks like something's failing. Let's fix that before I merge in the pull request. If it's a green check mark, then you know, okay, this is actually worth my time to look at and ensure that everything's good. And I want to approve this. Cool.
Boom.
So let's double check test right there. It should say 1 of 1 passed. Yeah, 1 of 1 passed. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Very nice. All right. And then that means I need to go to the actual. I need to go actually merge it now.
Yep. So yeah, these GitHub Actions or just CI, continuous integration in general, it makes your life easier as a maintainer of a repo. And look, now you got the other one kicking off.
That's right. Heck yeah.
So it makes your life easier. Oh, you could delete that branch, by the way, because we're done with it now. So yeah, it makes your life easier because there's less overhead. You don't have to sift through every single line of code to make sure there's no bugs. And it helps to be I don't say a gate, because gatekeeping is not a good word, but it allows you to make easier conversations with the developer who submitted the pull request, right? So if I submit a pull request and everything's failing, you can just come back and say, hey, looks like this unit test here is failing. Can you fix that? Whereas if you don't have that there, then it's kind of this back and forth conversation that ends up happening. It's like, hey, please fix this. And somebody's like, no, I don't need to fix that. That wouldn't cause any problems. Whereas now we can say like, no, this test is failing. Your code broke this test. So either your code implemented the new feature and this test is no longer necessary, or your code introduced a bug and that's why the test is failing because it caught it. So, look at that. Everything's working and it's automatically publishing to Azure. Even though in this case, the website didn't change. So
yeah, but you know, Nice. It's nice anyway. You remember the old days?
Oh,
Right
you'd have
click
to
publish.
publish manually.
Ugh,
That was annoying.
like a Neanderthal.
Boom. Look at that.
Cool. Bing bong. Super clean. It's got to read me now.
Ooh, and
not much.
scroll up in your README because we have those badges at the top.
Yeah.
That says no
that's
status.
funny. Yeah.
Refresh the page because that should show it.
Should
passing
say
now.
passing.
Oh, still no status. Look at all that status. Let's.
Let me look at the README real quick, because I copied that from you, and it might be that I'm not naming it correctly or not doing it right. Build and
Yeah,
test.
I mean the action
Workflows.
gives you code to copy paste. So, open up actions in another tab, so that we can keep the README open. And let's just get that copy paste from the action. So if we go to build and test on the left, and then those three dots, I think is where it says like copy badge, create status badge.
Create status badge.
Yep, just click that copy status button, boom, and then go to the other tab where the README is, and paste it in there. That looks exactly the same.
Looks exactly the same.
Does it let you commit changes, or does it say nothing's changed?
It says
Ah!
nothing's changed.
All right, then I got nothing, because that is literally the code we're given.
Right?
Ain't nothing you can do about that. Oh,
I hit enter and just moved it to a new line. Moved the other badge to a new line.
it could have also been we're just looking at a cached web page.
Yeah.
It's always
All right.
nice to have green badges.
Oh yeah. Green badges are the best. These images are huge, and I'm sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
That's right. Heck yeah. Heck yes.
All right,
And
big success.
here she is, the new and improved, once it loads, your new favorite poem. Awesome. And no local changes. Cool. And don't need that branch anymore, so there's main. Bro, I had a huge difficulty with my Twitter bots with my Git and everything, where I had accidentally saved the Git for one bot to like another bot's name because of the way that I had cloned the code. Oh, it was bad for a while. Like I was like, update Shania, and it was like, you want to update Brittany? I was like, no, update. I had to delete the Git on my local machine, re-download everything from the website. Oh, it was a massive headache on Friday when I was trying to get it all figured out.
Shivers. Ugh.
Right? I was deleting
That-
Git. How's that make you feel?
I mean, I've done it, but that's why I have the shivers, because yeah, there's always going to be a point where it's just like, there's no recovering from this. We just got to start over.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just have to blow away Git and just initialize fresh. But
It was a whole lot of
That's-
like up and down and back and forth. Even after I had like gotten rid of the Git, cloned it to a new folder, renamed it, done everything. I went to use GitHub desktop, and it would be like, this repository, right? And I was like, no, why do you think that? What did I do? So it was, I blew
did
it
I
all
do?
away. I actually still have no local Git for the original for Shania Bot right now. All I have is Ariana and Brittany.
uh,
For context, by the way, my Twitter
was
bots
just
are Badiana Grande, who, if you tweet at her with certain emojis, she replies with "Thank you next." Not Brittany, that's my bad. That's Chloe's bot. Chloe owns Brittany whole. Mariah Carey bot, which if you tweet certain emojis, she says I don't know her. And Shania bot, which every day she tweets "Let's go girls," and if you tweet at her with the word "impress," she says that don't impress me much. Hire me, guys. I'll make you a 90s female singer or a robot for Twitter. We could do it on Discord, too. I'll figure it out.
we're making the world a better place. And
We're
look,
making a
even-
world. Oh,
Louis
about
even said-
deleting Git. Look at him. He's like, oh my god.
everybody does it. Everybody does it. Just
That's
not
right.
everybody admits to it.
Look, I'm not on a team yet, so I don't have to worry about other people, and it's only like 50 lines of code for these bots.
Nah.
So, like, not a big deal.
It is. I will say it's the perfect place to make these mistakes
Oh,
because
for sure.
yeah, if you did this on a big engineering team that, like I said, like, if 50 people were also working on this, oh man.
Hey guys, I cloned the code, and oh jeez.
Oh dude, I've done so much worse. Like I've wiped out databases. I've
No.
wiped hard
really?
drives.
Oh,
Yeah. The good news is you learn a lot when you recover,
sure.
and then you also, well, if you're on a good engineering team, you'll create safeguards that prevent it from happening again in the future.
Sure.
But yeah, those are terrifying. Yeah, I
Yeah,
I've
it
pulled
sounds
all-nighters
scary.
because I broke something, and you just gotta
No
push
thanks.
through it. Like, yeah, the people that just want to point blame, like, you broke it. That's how could you? It's like, okay, yeah, I broke it. I just told you that. Like,
Yeah.
how do we fix this?
Yep. I am
just-
sorry, but we have to move on.
Like, and then also like, and then the postmortem after you're done fixing it is, why did this happen? How can we prevent it from happening again? So hopefully nobody out there is on a team where they just blame you and they just call you a bad developer. Because honestly, if it was allowed to happen, that means they didn't have the safeguards in place already, and they were the bad developers.
Yeah,
put
some
you in that
new
position.
developer came in and broke your system. Why didn't you have like a guardrail there, man?
Right. Yeah. If a junior dev can like just cripple your whole whatever website app, then you didn't make it right.
Yeah.
So,
what about someone with actual malicious intent, you know?
Oh yeah, that too, right?
All right. Well, heck. Good
Oh.
episode. We got the tests ready to make more tests now. And maybe that'll be what next week will be about. We'll actually build some tests and find some fun edge cases and break a website.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, dude. Thanks for coming, y'all. Follow me at Metzing Around on Twitch. Follow Brandon, the Code Traveler, on Twitch and Twitter. You'll see us around. Till next time.